Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Crossroad Conversation, where we bring to you inspiring conversations with some of the most fascinating minds in the world. Today, we have a special guest joining us all the way from Gujarat, India. She is, in her own words, your friendly neighborhood ghostwriter, not penning ghost stories but bringing other people's non-fiction books to life. Now, whether you have ideas that need words, you have book concepts that need structure, or you have some finished drafts that need polishing, Binati is your go to expert for bringing all these projects to fruition. Please welcome the incredibly talented and multifaceted ghostwriter, Binati Sheth. Hi,
Well,
Binti. Welcome to the podcast.
thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure, Binti. All right, so let's start with your background. You've been an engineering student. What sparked this transition from engineering into writing? What was your initial inspiration that led you to becoming a ghostwriter, specifically in the non-fiction segment?
So, honestly, it was the recognition of being a shitty engineer. Like, I could score well. You can ask me to deliver epic theory. I can do that, no sweat. But ask me to build something, and it was like the wires didn't just work. I could follow instructions down to the T. But I think an engineer requires a kind of strategic imagination, which I didn't possess. So I felt like moving forward, what I'd be good at is just going behind someone and doing what they say. That's it. Nothing imaginative, nothing, I suppose, frontier mindset based, which is what I think is the most important characteristic of an engineer. You have to have frontier mindset because they solve problems. That is why we are not living in caves and all of this. That's why we have all this comfort. So that was not me. I recognized that early on. And I feel like having a good uh, recognition of what you're good at and what you're bad at is helpful to lead a smooth life or a smoother life. So I recognize that I'm going to be very bad at this engineering thing. No matter what I score, I started deciding, okay, what to do afterwards because post engineering, you have fewer options. You're spending 4 years anyway at college. And then after that, you either have a regular MBA option and then go into finance consulting or something like that. Or you get a master's in engineering, become better at theory, and teach future generations, which to me was like, oh, no, 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 absolutely. So it became clear that you'll have to change
Hmm.
plans. So I asked myself, what are you good at? I'm very good at taking notes and very good at writing, according to my English teachers. I didn't really believe I was good at it, but teachers did. So I was like, okay, let's trust the teachers. They brought you this far. And
Hmm.
so I started emailing people. This is back in 2011. So pulling people's email IDs from stuff like Twitter and LinkedIn, it was very easy. You just needed to check their personal information and you could see it, no matter who the account belongs to. So it was very bad from a privacy angle, but it was very good from a I want to do a warm email to this person of influence angle. So I very honestly took the initiative to um, make some changes to the work that already existed. Say, for instance, brochures that are put out by big organizations, aid organizations, volunteering and helping provide aid is something I love. So that's where I started because I didn't have money, but I was like, I have skills and time. Maybe I can start there, see how well it works. So those were the first emails I sent out. I made changes to the brochures and the minutes of the meetings and all of this that was shared. And I was like, I can do this for you and I don't want any money. Just teach me. That's it.
Hmm.
Obviously, because I was not asking for any money. And I feel like indirectly because I did the first thing for free and it was not that bad. the things that I sent them. So I got yeses from most people I emailed, and that is how I got a start into the writing industry. I was just taking minutes. I would go to conferences and I would, because this Zoom thing was not that prevalent. People were actually having physical conferences in 2011 because technology was good, but it was not that good, right? We wouldn't have HD level calls at that point. So we used to go to conferences physically, would just pen and paper the full thing. And then within 24 hours, I would send nice little Excels and whatever document preference was asked of me. And it worked.
Mhm.
Indirectly, I think not only did I get access to some of the best experts in the world, but what I also got was, let's say, the ability to learn how to think better, right? Because you're listening to all of these people because you're taking the notes. You understand how they think. Like, take for instance, I minuted the NACO, OBRAF, and UNICEF common conference between doctors who were working towards the Indian AIDS eradication issue from mother to child. Right now,
Mhm.
this is a big problem. How to stop AIDS from transmitting from expectant mothers to their children? This is a problem that nobody gets a manual on. You work on it. So
Right.
how did these doctors, these aid workers, and uh, they're not exactly qualified healthcare professionals, but these are people that are trusted by the villages. So, how did these three communities get together to ensure that they solved this problem, which they did? Like, this is from back in the past, and they were planning for getting this done by 2021. They did it, right? And the back end of that, how they thought their way out of this problem without judging the people involved, and with such a solution oriented mindset, not कि अरे लोग ऐसे ही हैं, problems तो आते रहेंगे, अरे how to explain this, and none of that. They were like, okay, this is the problem, and we will have this issue with convincing the family members, blah blah blah. How do we work around it? How do we make people safe enough for them to approach healthcare professionals? How do we provide data when you have PCs that don't work? All of these
Mhm.
problems, they were thinking through all of these problems in such a magnificent way. I was like, there is something to this clarity thing. And if only I could learn that. And so that I started focusing on that, to be honest, how to think your way out of problems. And that was not money payment, but in terms of skills, gosh, that was so good. You get to go to university of experience, so to speak, other people's experiences. You're
Right.
just sitting there like sponge. Gimme, 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 gimme. So that is
Yeah.
where the journey started. I was doing this for free, so a lot of these people hired me, and I went. And as I said, work was not that good, but then it was not that bad also. It was better than what they had. They were not having to pay for it, so they were like good for it. So I
Mhm.
did this for 4 years in a lot of different ways. I was also working on pamphlets and brochures, presentations, things of the sort, where you're trying to, in a sense, compress big ideas in smaller, more accessible and understandable formats. And you have to do this in a way that their peers are not going to say, Arey, itna simple language. And then common people like you and me, we won't say, Arey, ye to sab bounce gaya, right? You have to find that balance. So that was incredible because see, these people give you great feedback. Uh, they definitely scold you. And I think that's a good thing when someone scolds you. Focus on what they are scolding you about rather than the words they are throwing at you. And I think you get some of the best advice ever. So they give you that type of feedback. You find holes in the way you express yourself, in the way you, mm, let's say, put your thoughts on paper, and you start trying to plug those holes with the intention that in the future these holes should not happen. You learn a very methodical way of expressing complicated things in the simplest possible way, but then it is not simpler. You are not treating your readers like they're idiots. This is a very fine line between simple and simpler. So all of these things, like for 4 years of college, because my college was paid for by family, very lucky that way, that I have Indian parents who are like, we will pay for college, we will pay for hostel, and you get started well in life. So I could do these things. I didn't have to worry about paying my fees or anything. So I was taking these decisions. And then after I graduated, and I used to be in the placement department of my college. So I was being offered jobs because things like TCS, Infosys, I don't think they care what your engineering background is because they're training you from scratch in their incubation courses. For 6 months, I think they train the newer students and all. So all of these jobs were being offered, but I was like, no, I'm good at this other thing. So I emailed these people again with whom I've been working for in different capacities for at least a year. And I said, I'm planning to start a business, a freelancing contract based business. If you want to invest, would you be my client? They said yes, because you've known people, right? That thing, that cliche we read, people buy from people, as much of a cliche as it is, I think it is true because people do buy from people. The reason why mom and pop businesses still exist in the age of Amazon, Alibaba, Mintra, all of this is we prefer the aspect of knowing the person who is working on our thing. So for bigger organizations where cost is not an issue, I think saying yes is not hard. So I got a lot of yeses. And so that's where the freelance content creation began. And then working with these people for a few years on their business sides, you obviously the personal and the professional mash a little because you're having casual conversation here and there. And then someone just mentions, I want to write a book, but I don't know how. And I was like, I can find out. And I did. And then somebody gave me a chance. Here's my research. Turn this into a book. I was like, I don't know how to do this. They're like, it's fine. We'll figure it out. I was like, great. Let's figure it out. And that's where the ghostwriting thing began. From recognizing that because I've lost a job to an AI in 2019. It was basically news curation. And then this is really, really big company. I sign NDAs, so I can't tell you exactly what the companies are,
Mhm.
but this is really big company and their AI the AI that they were building, it became common information much later on, but internally it had started affecting
Mhm.
teams, so to speak.
Okay.
So news curation was one of the first to go. And I used to
Mhm.
work there for content for the Middle East and Southeast Asia section. I used to curate news and create like a summary of sorts, if you want to call it that. And when that happened, when I lost that job, it was amazing money and lot of information access. You
Mhm.
get to go walk into a lot of doors because okay, I have access from this company. Well, when that happened, when so to speak, secure employment goes away because a machine
Mhm.
has come and done a better job than you. Like, let's admit it. They are better at curation than we ever could be because the
Mhm.
speed with which they process information is,
Right.
we can't catch up to it as human beings. We can't.
Right.
We can't read 100 blogs in 2 microseconds.
Mhm.
They're going to do an objectively better job at curating,
Right.
right? So
Right.
when that happened, I was like, okay, content will be the death of me. If not in 2019, in 2029. I think this is one of those jobs that is going to go away because it's going to get cheaper. At that point, it was not cheaper for the company. And
Mhm.
it still isn't. But then at some point, it is going to get cheaper because the more companies start investing in all the basic market of scale and things of the sort. So I was like, okay, we need something that's not easy to automate, right? Because AI comes for you if your job is easy to automate.
Right.
So I was like, books. Books are difficult to automate because they still rely a lot on
Mm.
creation. Yes, curation is an important part of filling the gaps in the book. So maybe that could be replaced by an AI. But
Mm.
what goes into the prompt of the AI,
Mm.
that I can do. So that will always require a person,
Right.
not some tech. So I was like, okay, let's pivot to books. Officially left content and started books.
Mm.
Already had access to so many people who'd seen my work. And
Right.
I think there is a hush hush culture in academia around who helps people write what.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps, right? People talk to each other that, okay, this one helped me with my thesis, this one helped me with my book. They'll not do posts about it or do testimonials about it, but they talk amongst each other.
Mm-hmm.
You always have a job because someone has referred you to somebody else and they have come in your inbox and like help. And you're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I can help you from so and so.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Yeah,
was very
this is a
long answer
wonderful.
to your question.
Yeah, no, but it's a wonderful, wonderful information, because this is something which I didn't come across in your profile. I didn't know
I
about
have
you.
two profiles actually.
Hmm.
This is the shit profile. If I can call it that. Because see, when you do the nice profile, the
Hmm.
one which has publications and everything, what starts happening is people message you that give me work like this person.
Hmm.
So I've currently worked on the biggest nonfiction book, a series in the Indian market right now.
Hmm.
Now, if I put up posts and the author is fine with that, if I put up posts that I was involved in that book, what's going to happen is people are going to message me, इसके जैसा book लिख के दो. I didn't write his book.
Hmm.
The book was ideated by somebody else. I just
Right.
helped find the word and the format. If you
Right.
don't want to do the basic mehnat of
Hmm.
thinking, right, you're outsourcing your thinking also. So I can't do that. So whenever those tags and labels and things like that come,
Hmm.
people have a tendency of wasting time. And that's
Hmm.
at this point, I'm privileged enough to be like, yeah, it's fine if I lose some smaller jobs
Hmm.
because some people are so focused on things like who else has she worked for, the things of this sort, rather than can she solve my problem. People like this are better kept at a distance. So I have two profiles. The serious profile comes on when I'm looking to get hired somewhere specifically. This
Hmm.
is language research projects. So whenever I'm looking to get into one of these things, I'm like, okay, the profile changes because you have
Hmm.
to, project that, okay, I have some experience in my belt and
Hmm.
this is how you go for it. But yes, I don't put all that on my profile, and you will rarely see me talk about the people I work with because, again, that's the thing. People
Hmm.
don't ask themselves what they want. They're like, I want it to be like that person I
Right.
idolize or I look at or things of the sort.
Hmm.
It's one of those things. It's a choice. Definitely costs you followers. Definitely costs you likes on posts because people are like, "अरे देखो आंटी आ गए बोलने." But it's fine, right? Whose loss is it? I have a good thing going for me from a business standpoint. I don't
Right.
have to do that. I'm trying to start like a uh, consult on book type thing, and that's
Hmm.
going slowly. So I'll
Hmm.
maybe try to change the content because that definitely helps when your call to actions and all of this is well thought
Hmm.
of. So I'll try doing it soon, as soon as I figure out how to do it. But largely speaking, you don't have to do that alu le lo, kanda le lo thing. Ki,
Hmm.
come here.
Right. Yeah. No,
So
and the way you started your journey with, you didn't straight away get into ghostwriting saying that, okay, I'm good at writing, hire me for this.
yeah,
You started it differently. And through that, as people got to know your work, your trajectory kind of moved that way automatically.
exactly.
You didn't have to sell that. It just came.
I
So
just
yeah,
came.
that's just a wonderful journey and a very intriguing one. But okay, help me understand, how do you go about rewording and reframing old ideas and give them new life? Walk us through this journey of yours. How do you breathe new life into these ideas that they share with you?
So the honest answer to that is, for you have to begin with the assumption that whatever you've come up with in terms of an idea, it already exists, because knowledge used to double. I forget exactly what it was. It was a research, and they looked into how long it took for knowledge to double.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it is doubling, I think, some 7 or 8 years. I forget the exact details of the study, but if the knowledge of the combined knowledge of human civilization manages, then this was pre AI, pre chat GBD. So if the knowledge is managing to double itself in something like, say, even 10 years, let's assume, because I don't remember the exact numbers, uh, there's a lot of things that have already been said before. Maybe they're not popular, but they exist.
Right.
The root of your originality might not be as original as you presumed it to be. Right? So when you operate from that level of honesty and that level of adjusted expectations, that pressure you put on yourself, original thought, that goes away. Because
Mm.
nahi hai original. Okay, start there. Catharsis is very powerful as a tool,
Mm.
because it enables you to move past these type of petty things that actually become massive roadblocks, because you will only be focused on original hackney, not is this idea providing value to people.
Right.
The first step is, acknowledging that whatever it is not original, even if
Mm.
it is like a proper discovery, something invented from scratch, it's not original. Somebody has ideated it, maybe in a book somewhere, you don't know.
Mm.
Start there and then find out a way to express things that don't exist before you came into the picture. Now, if you look at Aristotle has written this wonderful book called Poetics. And in Poetics, he teaches you the structures of a story. Let's call it that. You could put any sort of combinations in these structures and you'll have a brand new story. So
Mhm.
every story that you come up with, it will fit in Aristotle's Poetics.
Mm.
Technically, Aristotle wrote it before you did. Why
Mm.
don't we credit Aristotle in our books? Because Aristotle didn't come up with the story arc. He
Mm.
came up with the plot, not the arc. Right? So Harry Potter is such a wonderful example because very common. Okay. I think anyone listening to this will have one or two people maybe not watched or read Harry Potter, like very
Yeah.
younger people.
Yeah.
People our age definitely have been into Harry Potter. So the concept of mm, having death, love, and companionship
Mm.
explained through this young group of people trying to defeat, uh, let's just call it an embodiment of death, right? This is not new. Lord
Mm.
of the Rings tried to do it right before Harry Potter. So many other books tried to do it, but why did Harry Potter manage to talk to you and me? Because of the way that Rowling, as despicable as she is as a human being these days, but the way she managed to talk to us. Because
Mm.
when, I'm making an assumption, but you're not an orphan, right?
No.
I'm not an orphan either. We still
Mm.
empathize with Harry, right? We
Right.
don't really understand what's going on with Harry's life, but we empathize with the cruelty that he was dealing with, even though we didn't personally deal with a step aunt making our life hell, because the writing convinced you so. So that is what you focus on in non-fiction as well, because as my introductory video kind of says, all forms of writing, and if you've ever been to therapy, like good therapist will force you to manage a journal. You have to have a therapist journal with you where you jot down your thoughts. They don't just do this because they are trying to justify that their hefty paycheck. uh, they do this
Yeah.
because writing is a way of thinking clearly.
Mm.
When we have thoughts going just here and there, it's all unacknowledged. It comes, it flies off. Some of it
Right.
stays and moves around in the head for a little bit, but then it either goes in the recesses of our mind, or it just fades into oblivion. If you watched Inside Out, that Bing Bong thing,
Yes.
most of our thoughts are like Bing Bong. It's
Right.
bonging everywhere, but as we age,
Mm.
Bing Bong serves its purpose and says bye, so to speak.
Right.
Now, what journaling or having some place where you store these things does is it keeps a photo of Bing Bong somewhere. So you're like, acha, aisa bhi kuch hota tha. Right? So
Mm.
this is where a lot of ideas start. Like ideas that become really, really good. They start because you had a thought about something, an original opinion.
Mm.
Let's not even call it a thought. You saw something and you're like, ah, and you opine, right? Most of the times, complaints. It's
Mm.
fine. When you jot that down, you maybe don't even realize this, but you are actually doing social commentary.
Mm.
Now, if you do this succinctly enough for a long period of time, you could have a book ready, which, if you use the rhetoric of satire, could become some of the funniest could become funniest book ever. Let me give an example. I'm not married. I'm 30. Don't plan to get married either because अरे time हो गया. Like no.
Mm.
इंसान decent होना चाहिए. That's when we'll think about it.
Mm.
But uh, when you exist in Indian society like this, people are like, yes, victim. We have found
Mm.
the person to torture at the family event, right? So all of
Mm.
these very, very technically speaking, offensive comments are coming your way. You
Mhm.
have two ways to deal with this. One is get angry and make like you are this type of statements and ruin everybody's day, including yours. Or you can
Mhm.
just remember all of these things they've said, come home, write it down, and mock it
Mm.
and create a satire and then title it, That's Why I'm Not Married. I
Mm.
don't want to be miserable auntie moving around in functions looking for my next victim to say, "शादी क्यों नहीं की?" See, this is it. You have to recognize nothing is original. What
Mm.
is original is the spin you put on it. That's it. It's
Mm.
not putting a spin on it. That very hypothetical example that I gave you is something that the reason I picked that up is I think even if you are married, you're used to it because once you get married, they come with, Are, where's baby? Once baby comes, they're like, why is baby not first ranker? It
Continuous. There's
it,
always something.
they always find something with if coming to social commentary, they're
Mm.
trying to invert power in the dynamic. They're trying to look down on you. That's
Mm.
basically it. They're trying to see how powerful I am, even though you
Mm.
have this and that. I made you feel bad for like 5 minutes. So this is somebody trying to invert power on the situation. Now, in this situation, when you smile at them and be like, yeah, yeah, देखो ना आंटी कोई मिलता ही नहीं है. I'm तो loser only. The way their
Mm.
mouth drops, they're like, oh my
Mm.
God, this one is not feeling bad about it. It's happy about it. So
Mm.
not only do you invert power on the situation, what you also do is you come up with, let's say, a book that would make young people around the country laugh. Because everybody who's lived in India, young and old, even the
Mm.
ones that are taunting us have dealt with this and probably still deal with it.
Mm.
So that is the process of, let's say, ideating thoughts. It's not as much as come up with original concepts. It's what does your voice add to this topic, and that's
Mm.
it. You can
Mm.
always supplement all of these things with research and lead it more credibility and things of the sort, but the important thing to do is to find out kahani kya hai, right? Because as always, we in storytelling, this is something I don't really like about social media content creation. The line between stories and moments has kind of crisscrossed into each other. A moment is not a story.
Mm-hmm.
Book, you have to tell a story. You can't just take a moment. Like something traumatic happened to me, and I write a story about it. It's not a story, it's me sharing my thoughts about a moment in my life. It becomes a book when I take that traumatic moment, combine a few more moments with it, build an arc, and tell that story. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference between moments and stories. And as a ghostwriter, I have to take the moments that my authors give me and construct a story out of it. As simple as that. The more clarity an author comes with,
Mm-hmm.
the faster the ghostwriting process is. Some people just ramble on like this really big name in venture capitalism as well as even in social media circles. I walked away from a project because it was difficult to get her to focus on the topic, kept talking about the childhood. And I
Mm-hmm.
understand why that was the case because not too long ago lost all family from childhood, so to speak, parents and things like that. And I understand the human desire to want to go back to your childhood, a place that you can never go back to,
Mm-hmm.
specifically now when your last connection to that is gone. But I'm here to get a book written. I'm not your therapist, right? So you have to
Mm-hmm.
know when to walk away because it's very mean to say this to someone to their face that
Mm-hmm.
stop talking about your childhood, come to the present. I need you to focus on the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said I'm not the right ghostwriter for you, and I
Mm-hmm.
walked away. Right. So you have to find the type of people who are willing to put in the thought behind the book because you have to overthink books. There is no way you can't just say that the words are flowing out of me. That is expression. We all
Mm-hmm.
express ourselves every day, but with a book you have to be more intentional because at the end of the day your book has to provide some form of value to your reader. If it's a
Right.
fiction, it has to give people an entertaining experience. That is
Mm-hmm.
still valuable, giving people that 4 or 5 hours to chill while they are traveling or uh,
Right.
some place to decompress as they read for the day. That is value as well. Similarly, if we come to non-fiction, somebody learning something from your book, specifically learning something about themselves. If, say, for instance, I write a book on sleep analysis, which is a very popular topic these days, I believe, uh, the person reading my book should not be judging themselves for their sleeping habits. They
Mm-hmm.
should just ask themselves, am I sleeping well enough? And if not, how do I fix it? Like, you don't have to give people answers on a plate. You have to
Mm-hmm.
get people to think on their own. That is a good book. A good book
Mm-hmm.
is not going to give 10 things you can learn from my book. No, that is content.
Mm-hmm.
Books, the power of book is it makes you think. That's it. And if the book does that, trust me, as much as people like to say rubbish of the sorts of people don't read anymore, people don't have a I don't believe all of this because I have seen data that people do read. People are spending 12, 13 hours on a book that you could read in 3 hours from a basic reading speed thing. Why are they spending 12 hours on that book? They are
Mm-hmm.
thinking through what they are reading, right? That is what good books do. They make you think. They are not just entertaining stuff that you can quote here and there. It's definitely a part of that. Uh, this is what we mean when we say make books marketable. So once we have done the ideation bit, which is the first draft where you've said everything that you can say, we start the editing and the formatting process where you definitely focus on marketability, and these days social media friendliness is very important. Your book has to be quoted online. Otherwise, initial sales, like selling out your first print run, will be harder from conventional marketing because everyone is running ads. So even if
Mhm.
you run ads for your ads, and
Not
everyone is using ad
correct.
blockers also now, so chances
Mm.
that your ad is not shown to people who can afford to buy books. So
Mm.
you are spending all this money in marketing when organic marketing channels are open. All you have to do is just think thoda sa and curate the words for this thing. Ki, how do I get people to quote my book, irrespective of them reading the book or not? Just some quotes here and there that gain
Mm.
some traction and leads to some people asking, where is this from? They look it up and they're like, okay, it's a book. If the quote is so nice, maybe the book is also nice. This,
Right.
this type of stuff. So that's how we begin editing. Once we are done blind,
Mm-hmm.
then we focus on marketability and how well the book translates for readers.
Mm. Hey, tell me, what's the weirdest or maybe most unusual writing request you would have received from any of your clients?
And this one is not for books. Okay, this one was
Mhm.
for content. And this is
Okay.
why I stopped working medical content because I used to. This is medical hardcore technology like say crypto, Web3, all of this. You get paid really well
Mhm.
each assignment because you are not just being paid for the writing work, you're also being paid for all the knowledge you have. So I like to come equipped with information. And with academics, what I find is information is one of the easiest ways to get them to invest in your services. So I always
Mm.
used to have that. So this dentist person, this is an orthodontist based in the US, messaged me and they were like, they want to write articles on aesthetic dentistry for children. And I was like, do children need aesthetic dentistry because children lose their teeth? It's, but I didn't say that because, customer is always right, whatever.
Mm. Mm.
So I tried asking this person for more clarity, like define children. He was
Mm.
talking about babies. And I was like, babies ke to daant bhi nahi hote. What do you mean aesthetic dentistry? So
Huh.
that broke my brain because I understand that as a service provider myself,
Mhm.
in the market, there is place for all sorts of products and services.
Mm.
Now, your imagination could not catch up with the kind of weird shit people are asking to get done online. It's ridiculous. But this one really broke my brain. कि
Huh.
baby, मिल्क टीथ नहीं है बेचारे का बेबी उसका जॉ तुम हाउ so I was like, I don't want to work with no. So that's when I made the shift to geopolitics. But that's why anytime something weird happens, I have this way of internalizing it. And I'm like, what am I doing? And then I'm like, change. So,
That definitely was the weirdest.
baby
Okay.
braces,
Mm.
baby braces. And see, I understand if this is an angle of abuse. Some people have the misfortune of being born in abusive situations. And abusive people don't really discriminate when they go abusive. They're baby, woman, man, child, doesn't matter. They'll abuse you. So
Mm.
I understand that maybe if the jaw is broken or something, you need reconstruction surgeries. This was not reconstruction. This was like just for fancy. So I'm like, why Tom Cruise hai kya? वो baby hai. Please. What is this? So I had that face that if this was not a call, I would have punched you in the face while I was talking to this person. And I think they could see it from my face because I have this problem of not knowing how to fake this. I don't really think it's a problem, but it does become a problem when you're talking with people with egos.
Mm.
And he could tell that she got angry and he was like, you just have to write what I asked you to write. And I was
Mm.
like, no, I don't. Find somebody else. I did report their profile because
Hmm.
this a doctor should not be allowed to do this. I'm not a doctor. I know I should not have an opinion in this, but
Mhm.
you cannot break little children's jaws just to make it pretty. Are you kidding me? That is cruel.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was weirdest, grossest. Ever.
Yeah, I don't think any other story would beat this one.
Did you see the speed with which I answered? I had that ready.
Okay, I know all or most writers would prefer a certain environment where their creative juices would flow. But what's your most bizarre writing environment you've ever worked in?
Hmm. I think this VC one only. And that's
Hmm.
where I found a new rule. We are
Hmm.
not working with personal assistants anymore because I understand that people with influence have busy schedules and they need personal assistants and executive assistants and things like that to
Mhm.
handle things for them. But when the PA is giving you instructions like this, key, you can't ask her this, you can't ask her that. भाई why did you hire me यार? मैं उनको
Hmm.
कुछ भी नहीं पूछ सकती तो मैं बुक में क्या लिखूं? Do I just summarize all the podcasts and content that this person has created? The audience will hate that book.
Hmm.
Books are, whether we like to admit it or not, yes, they are very good for personal branding. The books also stick. They become a legacy, whether you like it or not. And if you do a bad book has reputation ramifications. And if I
Hmm.
do a bad job, is going to reflect badly on the person whose book I have written. I don't want to do a bad. There's a reason I haven't written my own book, and that
Hmm.
is I don't want to write a book for the sake of writing a book. How to write a book? Wala book lik do. Like you can Google that. I learned all of this from Google and from talking to people. You
Hmm.
don't need a book to teach you how to write books. You don't need me to write that book. If I write a book, I want to write a book that gives some value. If you're not allowing me the opportunity to find value in the story, मैं क्या लिखूं?
Hmm.
She did this and she did that. She was born here. This is what she did. This is how her. Nobody cares. People can watch. अभी तो AI को पूछ सकते हो आप.
Hmm.
What is because we talked about Harry Potter. Let's say J.K. Rowling.
Hmm.
Life story of J.K. Rowling. टक 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 लिख देगा वो. Don't need a book. It's and you ask it to summarize it. Tell me in 150 words. It will give it to you in 150 words. You don't need to do a
Right.
massive auto. The reason why we want to read, say, something like Walter Isaacson autobiographies. Walter Isaacson does very good autobiographies. Uh, the reason why you want to read autobiographies Ghost written by J.R. Mortimer, who did Andre Agassi, Phil Knight, and Prince Harry's autobiographies, Ghost wrote them, that is. You're not getting their stories. Their stories are just there in the side. That this
Hmm.
person had this happen, and you are getting a look at the emotional state of a
Hmm.
person who, on the face of it, does not have an emotional face. Let's take Andre Agassi. Both of him and Steffi Graf, they both have very stoic images in the world of sports, in the world of uh, athletes.
Hmm.
We don't really think of the ideology that made them that way. That is why we read his autobiography. We are like, what made Andre Agassi Andre Agassi? Because I'm sure he had, I don't remember. I'm sure he had other people in the tennis classes that he attended. There's a
Hmm.
reason he succeeded obscenely well compared to others. And that is something that the book has to tell you. And a shitty autobiography won't tell you because shitty autobiographies will just give you highlights of a person's life. It will not show you how the person thinks. It will
Hmm.
not give you what makes a person tick because every person has a way that gets them to tick. Most of us are like clocks that don't have batteries.
Hmm.
They're just chilling somewhere in the dust. And then something happens in our life. Inciting incident, we call this in the world of fiction, where the story starts picking up speed, right? And then the clock starts ticking, it gets the battery, and you have X amount of time to get something done. So,
Right.
what is that inciting incident of this very real human being's life? And what got them to tick the way that they did? Quickly, slowly, erratically. This is why we need good books. This is why we have to put in that thought of asking very stupid questions. Like this person refused to answer. I know those questions were stupid. But
Mhm.
those, see, stupid questions, answers to stupid questions reveal how you think. Say, for instance, you ask me something like, Pinati, what is your favorite book? I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to give some explanation.
Mm.
You, honestly speaking, won't care what my favorite book is. But how I described the journey of why that book is my favorite book, that will
Mm.
give you a clarity of, oh, acha, this is what qualifies as her favorite, right? Not this book is great, or I've read this book, or somebody else recommended this book.
Mm.
This person, this is important. So, stupid questions, as stupid as they are, actually tell you more than all those fancy, thoughtful questions ever do. Because fancy, thoughtful questions target one specific issue. They won't give
Mm.
you a full picture. They'll give you like a frame, a pixel from the picture.
Mm.
So I was like, after this particular incident, I was like, cannot work with people who don't want somebody to go through their life with their stupid questions and all of this. Because yes, the question is stupid and yes, it annoys you, but anything worth doing, like take giving birth to a baby, for instance, I think it's one of the most painful, most uncomfortable experiences parents go through. The mother, for obvious reasons, but also the father, right? They go through this because they're like, make cute baby. That is going to be our legacy. It's not supposed to be nice and flowery. It's supposed to be uncomfortable, painful, and difficult. So we
Mm.
can't be sitting in our offices, be like, I want a book done by next May, and I don't want to put any effort other than showing up for 1 hour Zoom calls. It's not
Mm.
how it works. You have to like put in how do I say uh, all the stupid little quirks that make you the person
Mm.
that you are on the line. Because
Mm.
while they will not show up in the book, all of these things don't show up in a book, but they
Mm.
help you write a character really well. And even if you are writing the story of a real person, in the book, they are a character. Because the person who is reading the book, they will not have, say, I'm writing your book. Person is not going to ever have access to Jennifer 100%. They'll have access to a version of Jennifer that's on the page.
Right.
So I was like, this experience was weird enough for me to go, not working with people's PAs anymore, and
Mm.
make the uh, client acquisition process more rigorous, because
Mm.
I spent 22 hours, no, not 22, sorry, somewhere around 21 hours on this project, and so much more behind the scenes. And
Mm.
not worth it. It was not worth it at all. Such a headache.
And I'm sure even if you're working directly with the client and not their PAs, uh, as you said, a moment is different from a story. People would share certain things. They come up with something that is there in their mind. They want to share with the world. They want to put it in a book, and they share that with you. And then you ask them for more memories, more moments that you can combine and create that arc
Exactly.
for them.
Those moments, moments are like any beaded necklace if you made, right? It's not a
Hmm.
necklace unless you take a string and you put something in it, and then the
Right.
necklace needs something to hold it down, right?
Right.
So you have the narrative of a book, that is the
Hmm.
string, right? The
Right.
needle, the fabric, plastic, metal, whatever it is, that is the narrative of the book that will hold
Hmm.
everything together. That includes themes, all of it. And then to make the necklace really like shine, because you can just put like a little gold chain and fine, everybody has a gold chain, won't really stand out. If you wanted to stand out, you have to put like a little pendant there, some
Mhm.
charm, or like pearl, you have to string pearls on it, or put some stones. I don't know. I'm not that into jewelry, but I'm assuming, you have to make it stand
Uh-huh.
out. So
Right.
the moments that you pick, you'll have lots of them, right? You'll have lots of pendants and things like that to choose from.
Mhm.
यहाँ
Mhm.
कौन सा pendant लगाएं ये? It's up to you. You choose. You
Mhm.
have to pull out all your pendants. You have to.
And I'm sure some clients would be such that they themselves may not realize they have one something specific that will really stand out there. As you said, you probe, you ask questions, sometimes even stupid questions to get that answer.
Definitely stupid
Sometimes,
questions. I'll tell you, one of the
mm,
easiest techniques I have is I make people angry. I'm not joking. And the
okay.
easiest way to make people talk, get them
Hmm.
experience anger. Okay.
Hmm.
And I'm not talking visceral rage, like trigger people. I'm talking
Hmm.
annoy them with
Hmm.
dumb questions. Nothing makes people talk like proving how stupid the other person is.
Hmm.
Just anybody, no exceptions. Like if somebody is stonewalling me, I'll just be like, Acha. Even though I understand everything, I'll pretend I don't. Ask them why, like a kid. Why are kids such successful communicators? Like, ask yourself
Hmm.
this question. Yes, they have cute advantage, but adults have smack advantage. They can smack it any point in time. Like, kids are at so much danger from an angry adult all the time. They don't relent, right? They're like, why?
Hmm.
Why? Why?
Right.
Why? And as angry as that makes you, you keep answering their questions. And
Hmm.
sometimes they also talk back, right? And you realize, why is this so much smarter than me? Why does this kid understand the word so much better than I do? Right? That's the power of thinking like a kid and asking
Hmm.
questions like a kid. So I'm not saying become a kid, but it's like if somebody is stonewalling you, get people
Mhm.
to get in that stage of anger, like, oh my God, your stupidity is infuriating me. Let me
Hmm.
just educate you. And the way they start talking, then puck, 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 puck.
Hmm.
As you say, people don't really realize what has happened is profound, because we as a society, and this is not just about India, this is, I have
Hmm.
noticed across the board, we as a society have fallen so much in love with the hero's journey, from books and TV shows and movies and document and all of this. There is like this one character who is like "Ta-ta-da-da," and solving
Hmm.
all the we are so hyper focused on individuals of this sort. We don't even realize that that selfish person who has become a hero, and I'll die on this hill. That's a selfish person. You don't just
Hmm.
solve a problem alone. Nobody solves a problem alone. There's like a massive effort that has gone behind solving
Hmm.
any problem for that hero to stand on their pedestal.
Hmm.
And none of these heroes acknowledge uh, people in public, right? They'll thank people in acknowledgement sections and all of this.
Hmm.
But hero's journey, personal branding, done. So there is like an adulation in the world for hero's journey. And
Hmm.
I think people forget that for that hero's journey to happen, there was a lot of effort that was put into it. Chances are you are part of the effort team.
Hmm.
Ipso facto, you also are a hero, right? You might
Hmm.
not see yourself that way because you didn't get the claps. You didn't get the, no, the final acknowledgement. You didn't get the award. You didn't get the TED talk. You didn't
Hmm.
get the Forbes 30 under 30 or something like that. Your
Hmm.
work made that happen. So people have, no matter how big they are, from what I've seen, people have a tendency of underwriting their stories. They think
Hmm.
what they have done is unremarkable, and they don't really look at it from the lens of spectacular, something that other people could get inspired by. That is
Plus,
why,
they would always try to measure it up. As you said, there is a hero or there is a,
exactly.
very fancy. So they would try to bring out their moments that match those and say, okay, I have also done this.
Yeah,
But maybe they've done something completely different, which others may not have done. And that is noteworthy, which they may not
exactly.
realize. Yeah.
Exactly. I think people lead remarkable lives
Hmm.
if and only if they take a moment to jot it down. Like if you try to tell the story of your life in bare bones 15-second format, uh, where you started in life to where you ended up at the point in time that you are in, you'll
Hmm.
recognize the kind of progress you have made financially, professionally, personally, emotionally. I think a lot of people don't really take into account that they are remarkable. Even if, say, for instance, you are working a common job and you're not making as much money as you wanted to, you are making more than your entire family put together for you while you were growing up, right? All of these things are remarkable. Like it takes 3 generations, according to research, to escape generational poverty. You
Hmm.
are easily spending 1,000, 2,000 rupees on food bills, right? And not even thinking about it for a second, because that type of financial security is a part of your life. That is remarkable, because India is, largely speaking, a very young country still.
Hmm.
And most of millennials are, I think, millennials probably the first generation that
Hmm.
didn't have to worry about survival, right? India ka full, if you look at India's boomer generation, all
Hmm.
of them have a survival story. Even the rich people, right?
Right.
Even the people with privilege, they have survival stories because they had to go through something that we won't understand, because we are in a developing country. They were in an underdeveloped country. So
Right.
just that fact alone, that you can, as a bindas say, order something on Blinkit and like it's all useless things, technically speaking, not
Hmm.
even worry about. It is
Right.
remarkable. That is sign of a family succeeding,
Hmm.
escaping a generational curse that was given where you were born in, supposed to follow you, right? But you
Hmm.
are chilling. So from a story angle, it is remarkable. But you have to look at it that way. You have to develop that eye, as they say, to recognize that this was awesome. This was something, if I frame it right, something that could be a story. And
Hmm.
the thing with stories is people love stories. What do all of us do? Gossip. What is that? That is stories. Why do we love gossip universally? Those are stories that are very, very close to us because we know
Hmm.
all the characters involved. We don't really need characterization. In
Hmm.
books, you have to do, you are reading a version of gossip.
Hmm.
But because you don't know the character involved, you have to do thoda sa character arcing and thoda sa scene setting and things like that.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, it's about
Hmm.
stories, and stories appeal to people on all levels. You have to recognize that about your life, that my life has a story. It might not be the story I want to tell. It's still a story. And as much as I like to believe that this is just my story because I'm not like other girls, it is
Hmm.
all girls ka story or all people ka story. We are
Hmm.
remarkably similar than we like to admit. So if you write your
Right.
story and if you put it out, chances are 100 people are going to be like, Array, you have written about my life. And then
Hmm.
other people hear this and they read it and they're like, oh, yeah, this is my life too. And that circle widens and widens. And your technically unremarkable story ends up finding acceptance in so
Hmm.
many other people who thought they were unremarkable.
Right.
And having the story indirectly narrated in this way makes them realize, not that bad. So if you look at the likes of this one, Eat, Pray, Love Wala Auntie, Elizabeth Gilbert, I believe. Yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert. That's what she did. Like, basically, her book is uh, abandon all responsibilities, use your money, go on vacation in 3 different parts of the world, eat, chill, meditate, come back. Not remarkable at all. But you read the book, you'll cry. It's written so well. There's a movie, Julia Roberts is in the movie. You can watch it if you want. And I think it is pretty close to the book. So
Okay.
the story, as I narrated it, it's literally the story. A rich lady abandons everything, goes on vacation to Italy, Bali, and India. And she discovers herself. Self love comes back, becomes successful, finds love, all of this. See, this sounds very, क्या है ये? Right? That type. Like, sounds like scam. Exactly. It's like, what is. But while you're reading this book, you genuinely are asking yourself, why am I counting calories while I eat? My damn ancestors who were skinny to the bone because of famines and whatnot would have loved to be plumped as a wee partridge. Why are we judging ourselves for a little bit of fat, right? When chowing on a pizza or eating spaghetti and things like that, you ask yourself these questions. That is the power of good storytelling. It's not about the story of rich auntie going on vacation. That is if you are trying to be sassy, right? Getting people to laugh about a book or something. Important bit is how she writes about it. How she writes about losing yourself because diet culture has infiltrated every aspect of a man, woman, queer person, trans person's life. Because no matter who you are, लोग आपको मोटा काला ऐसा कुछ भी आके बोल के चले जाएंगे. It's universal, right? It's universal. So why do we let all of this take away the joy of something as simple and common as enjoying a meal, right? So it's the story is in that. She goes and cries in Bali, yeah, at some meditation at like a healer type thing. And you ask yourself, yeah, what kind of rich people crap is this? From the face of it. But I think it is not about rich people crap. It is about finding time to acknowledge that you deserve good things, even if you are rich, right? Even if you are poor, even if whoever you are, if something gives you joy for a little bit, it's okay. If it looks crazy, who cares? Take the joy from it. Dance, eat, chill. So that is why that book, Eat, Pray, Love, was so successful. Even though the story, I spoiled the story because there's no story. It's how it's written. So that is what people have to learn. They have to develop that eye of a writer. I am sitting and talking to you, and this conversation itself, if I try to write the story of this conversation, we are having this conversation because a bunch of military people wanted a way to communicate with each other over long distances without their communications being intercepted by machines and mail systems and things like that. ARPANET is where internet began. It's a fascinating story. Like war caused internet to begin. And then internet became more mainstream and people started talking about things that they were passionate about. No monetization whatsoever. I like movies. This is the movie I like. And these are the reasons why. That is where communities started forming themselves. Looking at those communities, some tech bros were like, we can put all these communities in one place. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these platforms happening. Looking at people communicating with each other this much, but not having like a voice video medium. Some other tech bros were like, Arey, what if people could talk to each other but cheap? And what if they could video themselves while they do it? Zoom, Skype, voice over calls, all of this. And what if you would record all of this?
Hmm.
and put it for other people to see.
Hmm.
So that is it's such a random thing, right? You and me talking to each other. There is a massive story in the background of
Hmm.
how you and me can chillingly talk to each other, even though we've never crossed our paths against each other in real
Hmm.
life. We crossed our paths through LinkedIn,
Right.
and then we got into our inboxes, and now we are here on Zoom. So it's a story, right?
Right.
It's a very, very common story, but it's
Hmm.
about you trying to find the angle of how truly fascinating it is that at 3 p.m. in the afternoon,
Hmm.
we are talking about a random topic with no care in the world or investment. Because
Hmm.
internet calls are cheap.
Right.
Why are we able to do this with this much ease? Because of that story in the background. That has been
Right.
told for decades now. Yes,
Hmm.
you don't need to acknowledge it with every single call because that's a tough way to live. You are
Right.
you're seeped in gratitude 24/7. So bhai, when are you feeling other things, But
Right.
you are thinking of writing a story. You have to think like this.
Hmm.
Anything has the potential to be a story. You just have to find it.